Not only humans can build amazing structures, animals are just as good. And sometimes they even surpass us and inspire engineers with new solutions. I'm not kidding. Watch this episode to the end to be sure, because today you'll see record-breaking constructions the size of a whole country built by insects, the most unusual nests in the world, underwater structures built by fish, and not only. Let's go. Let's start by going underwater and taking a look at this. And this is… what is it, actually? Do you have any thoughts? Could it be the trace of some kind of underwater object, or even something alien? There's something cosmic about it, but it's the work of a very earthly fish. I mean, it's the work of their fins. These underwater circles have long puzzled scientists. They didn't understand what they were, and they didn't know who was drawing them. For the first time, such a circle was found in 1995 on the seabed off the coast of Japan. And only more than 15 years later, the mystery was solved. It turned out that these are the peculiar buildings built by pufferfish. Yes, the same ones that can be a delicacy if they're properly cooked. Divers finally noticed and filmed how a small male pufferfish swam near the bottom, moving its fins, and a neat groove stretched behind it on the sand. It did these manipulations several times in a row, moving in different directions, and finally constructed a circle like this. But for what? The answer wasn't long in coming. It turned out that this is how male pufferfish impress females. The more beautiful the circle, the more likely that the female will reciprocate. If it likes the underwater structure, it will lay eggs in the center of the circle and swim away. It turns out that the mysterious underwater circle is not only a beautiful creation of the fish, but also a place for the procreation. Take a look at this shot. Looks pretty impressive, doesn't it? You'd think it's some kind of clay structure built by an ancient civilization with excavations going on nearby. But no, it's an animal creation. Very small animals created it. It's a termite mound. Termites are like the best builders in the whole animal world. This termite mound you've seen is just one of thousands of examples of what I'm talking about. Termites build their houses out of their own saliva, sand, clay, and chopped wood, which turn into a mixture and solidify quickly. A termite colony has millions of individuals, and they all work together in a friendly manner, so they manage to create truly huge structures. Many termite mounds look like medieval castles and rise 13, 16, 20 feet above the ground. Termites can spend hundreds of years working for generations on the construction of such a large-scale structure. And what we see is just the tip of the iceberg. Termite mounds are organized in a complex way inside and underground. They're full-fledged megalopolises, just like ours. There are warehouses, living quarters, delivery rooms, fortresses for defense, greenhouses for growing food, chambers for storing eggs, and much more. Termite mounds are elaborated in another way too. They have a ventilation system that maintains a constant microclimate inside. There are even air shafts in termite mounds. It was termites with their structures that inspired engineers to design self-cooling houses. Just imagine, some seemingly useless bugs have made a real contribution to the construction of human buildings. But that's not all. There are some termite mounds that shock you so hard you can't believe it. What if I told you that there's a termite mound in the world that is comparable in terms of area to the whole of the UK? It's unbelievable, but it's a fact. In fact, I'm talking about a whole complex of termites. It's located in Brazil, and its construction began 4,000 years ago. It turns out that it's also almost the same age as the Great Pyramid of Giza. Speaking of pyramids, scientists have estimated that the amount of soil dug by termites in this place is equal to about 2.3 cubic miles, which corresponds to about 4,000 Egyptian pyramids. In total, there are 200 million cone-shaped hills, about 8 feet high and 30 feet in diameter. In short, it's something spectacular. Perhaps only one type of building can compete with termite mounds in terms of scale and elaborate structure. It's an anthill. I think it's not wrong to say that every one of you has seen an anthill, but it's unlikely to have impressed anyone. It's just a little hill of twigs. But again, that's just the tip of the iceberg. An anthill may well compete with the human metropolis in terms of elaborate structure and complexity of design. The top of an anthill is just a hill or a dome, nothing particularly interesting. All the most interesting is inside. The underground part of an anthill goes deep into the ground and is branched beautifully. If you pour the abandoned anthill with molten metal and cool it down, it'll be clearly visible. As in the case of termites, an anthill has rooms for everything necessary. Food is stored in some rooms, larvae are grown in others, ants overwinter in still others, and so on. An anthill is very similar to a termite mound, but it has a drawback. I'm talking about a material. It's much more fragile than the mixture invented by termites, so the building can collapse even after rain. In addition, an anthill can be broken just by accidentally hitting it with your foot on a walk in the forest. But ants are not only cool builders, but also great repairers. They rebuild a broken anthill instantly. There was also a record here. Interestingly, a record-breaking building was found again in Brazil. In 2012, a team of scientists found a giant anthill with an area of 5,382 square feet and a depth of 85 feet. This is one of the largest anthills of all time. It's hard to even call it an anthill. It's a full-fledged city. Scientists were excavating there, just like full-fledged archaeologists when they find ancient human cities. Roads, tunnels, fields, gardens, and even highways were found in the ant city. It was once home to one of the largest colonies of leafcutter ants in the world. These hard workers dug up 40 tons of soil to create this masterpiece. And if that record-breaking complex of termite mounds is compared with the Egyptian pyramids, then scientists have compared this ant city with the Great Wall of China. Do you agree with this comparison? Okay, let's leave insects alone. They're not the only ones creating superstructures. Look at this. It looks like some huge haystack or an abnormal and mutated beehive somewhere in the trees or poles, doesn't it? In fact, it's one of the most amazing bird nests in the world. The author of the creation is a humble bird called the sociable weaver. This African bird is small, about 6 inches long, weighing about an ounce. But thanks to its diligence and capacity, it can create such a masterpiece. Not just one, of course, but a whole colony with 100 or more individuals. Sociable weavers' nests can reach 26 feet in length and 6.5 to 10 feet in height. But the sizes vary. In any case, a huge nest can accommodate a huge colony of hundreds of individuals. The nests themselves are structures within structures. A huge nest consists of individual chambers, each occupied by a nesting pair of birds. In short, a sociable weaver's nest is essentially a multi-story building. Like in modern houses, there's a security system here. However, not in the form of an intercom, guard, and concierge, but in the form of sharp and barbed straw, which protects the entrance tunnels from predators. But this doesn't always help. Sometimes skittish snakes sneak into the nest. It's also worth noting that, like termite mounds, sociable weavers' nests have their own microclimate. Thanks to the bird's construction skills, the inner chambers remain warm even at night. More nests. Birds build their nests in trees. Everyone knows this. The higher you sit, the less chance you or your chicks will be eaten by a predator. But these birds build their nests right on the ground. And their nests, to put it mildly, are very different from the typical nests and more like bowers. That makes sense because they're built by bowerbirds, birds from Australia and New Guinea. However, these structures are not for habitation. Ordinary nests of bowerbirds are still located in trees, and ground nests are needed to attract females, of course. In general, it's amazing that these birds sometimes build such big nests. Not even every human can build such a thing. But the most important role here is not so much the bower itself as the surroundings. The entrance and approach to the tent should be decorated as colorfully and richly as possible. To do this, the male bowerbird flies in search of colorful objects, from flowers, shells, and berries to coins and even plastic garbage. Feathered females are attracted to the blue color especially strongly, so males try to find something blue as a decoration. The male tried so hard, erected a stunning building, all beautifully decorated, so the female will certainly agree to mate with it after such a thing, right? No. Female bowerbirds are too demanding. After the exhausting construction, the male must still perform a mating dance. And if the female likes it too, only then will it agree to mate. The process will take place right here in the bower. Dams. I'm sure you've been waiting for this because beavers and dams are the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to construction in the animal world. Everyone knows that beavers build dams, but do you know why they do it? It's unlikely because they have nothing else to do, right? In fact, a dam is a protective measure. Beavers live in burrows that rise above the surface of bodies of water. To ensure that the dwelling is always protected from predators, the entrance to it must be flooded. That's why beavers use dams to keep the water level high in rivers and streams. However, people are not satisfied with this. Beaver dams can cause flooding in towns and villages due to high water levels, so special workers dismantle and break them down. Of course, it's a pity to ruin the beaver's creation, but we have to live normally too. But let's get back to beavers. They build dams from branches and trees, which they gnaw with their teeth. In a few days, a beaver can take down a thick tree by gnawing on it. They also add mud, small sticks, and silt to the dam. The construction process itself is generally ordinary, but it's not a mindless piling up of branches. Beavers carefully weave all the elements together to make the structure strong and reliable. Otherwise, it'll be washed away very quickly, and if there's a leak as a result of a breach, a beaver immediately fixes it, because its life depends on it. The average beaver dam is about as tall and wide as an adult human, but there are record-breaking constructions of these rodents. In the Canadian province of Alberta, in Wood Buffalo National Park, there is the largest beaver dam in the world. Its length is 2,790 feet. The dam itself consists of two separate dams, which beavers have joined together. And they don't stop at what they've achieved. They're always repairing the dam, strengthening it, and adding something to it to make it even bigger. But not all buildings look harmless. For example, snakes can simply occupy a huge territory and turn it into a giant den. And wasps can build hives inside houses and cars. You'll learn about this further. The largest snake den in the world. In ancient Babylon, Assyria, Africa, and China, snakes were worshipped, feared, and attributed magical properties. People have always dreamed of taming snakes and turning their magical and healing power to their advantage, and therefore this reptile was revered among many peoples. In modern society, there are many who have a phobia of these reptiles, as well as those who sincerely admire these reptiles. Proof of the latter is the numerous flows of tourists in the Canadian province of Manitoba, where you can see the largest cluster of snakes on the planet. With the arrival of spring, tens of thousands of garter snakes crawl out of their hiding places near the swamps in a protected area called the Narcissus snake dens and create a cluster, usually consisting of more than 50,000 snakes. The reason lies in the beginning of the mating period. Usually the mating rituals last for 2 to 3 weeks. The males are the first to crawl out of their winter shelters. They wait impatiently for the females, and when they finally crawl out of the caves, the males immediately attack them. There are far fewer females than males, so there may be as many as a dozen suitors per lady. Because of the special zeal of the males, they even intertwine with each other and form a ball. According to many professors who study this particular area, there may be about 35,000 snakes in one of the Narcissus snake dens and 250,000 snakes in the entire area. A total of 4 such dens have been recorded in the area, and remarkably, they're all connected to each other by a path which is about 1.8 miles long. Fortunately, lovers about these reptiles with double tongues don't have to worry about their safety while watching such a fascinating spectacle. For tourists coming to Narcissus, special observation platforms have been built near the den. Granddaddy of hornets' nests. In the view of many people, there are good wasps and bad wasps. But scientifically speaking, the common yellow jackets are more common in everyday life. They're notoriously aggressive, predatory pests that stand out for their protective behavior because they can sting when they sense danger. These insects tend to build their nests underground or in abandoned rodent burrows, which means they have only one entrance to defend themselves. This colony seems to be an exception, though. This wasp nest was discovered in a shed in Patterson, Louisiana back in 2017. Pest control specialist Jude Verrett encountered, in his own words, the granddaddy of hornets' nests. This nest, consisting of dangerous wasps, consumed everything and anything in its path, taking up most of the ground space of the shed. But before the pest control specialist could begin to dismantle the nest, he was suddenly bombarded. The farther he went, the worse it got. As he began tearing apart the nest with his gloved hands, thousands of wasps appeared and began attacking him. They flew at Jude so aggressively that you could barely hear him speak in the original video recording. But it would take more than 1,000 or maybe tens of thousands of insects to stop Barrett from doing his job. Within 45 minutes, he cleared the entire shed without a single sting. Alabama wasps. When it gets warmer, most people in America celebrate it with a pool party or a picnic. But in Alabama, residents can ruin their summer holidays by discovering the skin-crawling insects I talked about earlier, those dangerous wasps. Usually, colonies of these devils form small nests of about 4,000 individuals in the summer, which tend to die in the cold winter. But when winters are warm, more and more of these colonies survive into the following summer. This leads to huge swarms that begin to build huge perennial nests all over the southeastern state. In the summer of 2006 in Alabama, a colony of more than 15,000 insects completely occupied the interior of this old car. From window to wheel, they covered the car with the paper-like material that makes up the inner layers of the nest. It's made of wood fiber, which the wasps chew and mix with their saliva, thus creating a paper pulp. They then spit it out and shape it into the shape they want. And if they're not stopped and the colony continues to grow, they'll continue to build further. Unfortunately, the owner of this car was convinced of this the hard way. However, this was only one of the staggering 90 super nests found that year. Some of them were even in stranger places, like this one for example, which was found inside of an old discarded mattress. You can see how the insects form the interior dividers of the nest around the insides of the mattress. They look like a honeycomb, but in reality there's nothing sweet about them. It's in these hexagonal infernal spaces that wasps store and raise their eggs, from which more insidious insects later hatch. It's lucky that no one had a chance to take a nap on this old mattress, otherwise the wake-up call would have been quite harsh and painful. Fortunately, after the summer of 2006, the region's residents were finally able to rest easy. A succession of cold winters returned, depriving the perennial insects' colonies of the opportunities to revive. However, that was the case until recently. In 2019, a quiet road in Shelby County suddenly came alive when a huge supernest was discovered on the side of the road. Researchers estimated that it was about 4.9 feet tall and 3.2 feet wide. About 15,000 individuals were hiding there. It doesn't look like the giant pest nest will disappear anytime soon. Cobra versus python. The next battle that was caught on camera took place in a wild forest, and the participants were a cobra and a python. Do you see these snakes? The python grabbed the cobra, wrapped itself around its head, and gradually, second by second, tightened its grip. The prey barely moves and tries to cloud the mind of the attacker. And if you suddenly think that a fierce battle between two of the strongest snakes is about to unfold here from second to second, you're wrong. That's exactly the position the snakes will stay in for the whole clip. I don't know how it ended, but if the cobra didn't do anything, it clearly lost this battle. Why are you standing here? That was the question this little creature asked the man who was all alone on the road. I don't know what the cameraman was doing, how he ended up with his camera turned on, or why he chose the tactic of standing still, but all of this combined kinda sealed his fate. I watched the clip and made sure the snake was about to bite him. Basically, it did. The animal was small and harmless, so its bite didn't cause anything but a momentary discomfort. But another time, if I were this guy, I'd just run away from the snake. Put the camera away. Maybe that snake from the last video bit the guy for taking unauthorized pictures? Because as practice shows, snakes don't like that very much. And this angry reptile is another proof of that. Just look at how abruptly and unexpectedly it attacked the camera. You have to admit that it was simply unreal to dodge such a lunge. Realizing the mood of the snake, the man was then already ready for such tricks and methodically dealt with it, picking it up and calming it down a little. By the way, write in the comments, what would you do if you had such an aggressive snake on your property? Would you have hoped that it would leave the territory on its own, or would you have taken everything into your own hands? Personally, I wouldn't want to touch such an evil snake, only if it didn't look as cool as the one I'm going to tell you about. Oh yeah, I'll also tell you about one of the most dangerous representatives of the snake world, so keep watching, it'll be interesting. Green tree python. The main cutie of the episode is the green tree python. This colorful snake is a member of the Morelia genus and is found mainly in the tropical rainforests of Papua New Guinea. When young, the body of the green tree python is usually red or yellow, allowing it to hide among the surrounding landscape. The fact is that the first year of their life, these pythons do not live in the forest. They prefer its outskirts, small open areas or meadows covered with tall grass. And when the first year passes and the creeping creature moves into the forest, it adjusts to its environment and changes its color to bright green. Belcher's sea snake. And now I will tell you about one of the most dangerous snakes. If the previous green beauty could easily have a length of more than 5 feet, this reptile is much smaller, 3.5 feet's its limit. These snakes are not aggressive, and divers safely swim near them. They take amazing pictures, get their adrenaline pumping. You ask me, why get your adrenaline pumping if the snake is small and not aggressive? Well, just because it doesn't attack everyone left and right doesn't mean it's weak. It is, by the way, one of the most toxic snakes in the whole world. Just a few milligrams of its venom would be enough to kill over 1,000 adult people. We should thank Mother Nature that in 90% of cases, the Belcher's sea snake bites, not injecting its venom, in order to simply scare its opponent. That's all, guys. Which snake do you consider the most dangerous in the world? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.